haven't healed from that yet, still too soon?
Just saying, give me a vendor meeting, explain what we're doing, and then see if I can set up what I got.
All right, on this Memorial Day weekend, let's join me for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to offer, in lieu of a prayer today, a moment of silence for the young Bettsville child who took his own life. We often don't talk about suicide because it's taboo, but let's keep his family in your prayers, and if we could offer a moment of silence. And if there's anybody out there that's feeling blue or down, remember you can always text 4HOPE to 741-741 and help is available. Roll call.
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Tushman?
Here.
Here.
I'll accept a motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Thursday, May 16th.
So moved.
Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy? Yes. Commissioner Tushman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes. All right. Any adjustments for the agenda today? All right. We have appointments. We have the Great Lakes Community Action Partnership, and it is Community Action Month. And who would like to give us a report today?
Good morning. So I'm Ruth Ann House. I am the president and CEO of many of you remember us as WSOS Community Action. We changed our name last year to Great Lakes Community Action Partnership. May is Community Action Month, and so we are urged by our national association to get out and visit with our commissioners. There are 1,000 of us agencies across the country. Every county in the nation and Puerto Rico are served by Community Action, and we are your Community Action. We are here to serve the residents of Wood, Sandusky, Ottawa, Seneca counties, and much further beyond that geography. I want to point out we have 3 board members in attendance, so thank you. David Zach, Carol Kern, and of course Mike is on our board, and we appreciate all their time. They do spend a lot of time giving to the organization and the work that we do in the communities, and we appreciate their time and their expertise. We have some folks with us today that are going to hopefully talk about their experiences in our programs, because that's really the most important thing about the work that we do is the impact that we're having in our communities. Shirley and I were talking when I sat down that you must be from WSOS, and how could it be a year? Has it been a year already since we last did this? These years fly by very quickly. So Terry, if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. My name's Terry Jacobs. I'm the Housing Energy Director at GL Camp, or Great Lakes Community Action Partnership. We administer the CHIP grant. It's a community housing improvement program is the old name, which makes more sense than the new one, but it's preservation of old homes and bringing them up to code. The county was awarded $1 million for Seneca County, all of Tiffin, and all of Fostoria. So we are seeking participants for that. We're just starting the grant, so we have inspectors out in these communities inspecting homes and getting them ready to rehab them. So you can visit our website at glcap.org, and you can do an online application online to apply. So if you could help us get that word out, and lots of money to spend, and it's a great program. So we also administer the weatherization program in Seneca County, and that's an ongoing program every year, and we always are looking for participants for that as well. So thank you for being a partner with us, and we enjoy working with you all. So.
Appreciate the good work.
Viola, you wanna?
I'm Viola Hammer, and I work in the Fostoria area and up in Rossford area. We do recruitment for children, which we're doing our recruitment now for the next program here. And we have center here in Tiffin and Fostoria. So if you guys have any children between the ages of birth to age 5, we'll be doing recruitment for our program for the fall. And this is Anita Sanchez. She's also a family advocate out of the Fostoria area. So you can call any one of us.
Do you want to introduce your parent?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'm Erin, commonly referred to as Clayton's mom. Clayton. He attends GLCAP at the Tiffin Center. Teresa White is his teacher, along with Craig Kumar, I believe is her last name. We love the program. Clayton's been there 2 years. He thrives. He scored a 77 on his kindergarten readiness. Out of 100 children, Clayton's at the 77 mark. He's doing fantastic. His socialization has taken off. He is, his verbal skills all have improved, and he's just thriving in the program. We're very appreciative of the program. We enjoy, we do the Parent Cafe. I'm a, I believe it's called a parent host for the Parent Cafe, so we just wrapped up our last session yesterday evening, and that was really nice to get the parents together and just talk about parenting, and really appreciate the community and the programs that have been offered and everything that's been going on these last 2 years, so thank you.
Why don't you bring him on up? Why don't you come up here and get here, maybe a picture, a chance for a picture if he will.
We have one more family, right? I'll come back to Alex. I'll come back to
It's
Alex.
perfect, we have 3, we can make a picture.
I know.
Hi, I'm Karen Long. This is my daughter Aria and Mia. They're both, well, Miss Aria is going to be going to kindergarten now, but she's been there for 2 years. I went to WSOS, well, when it was WSOS, back in the day. And I also have an older child who went there, and then another child who's now 16 who went there when they actually had like the daycare. So that was awesome. She went from infancy to preschool and then on her way. So when I asked the kiddos what they thought was their favorite thing about school, they said playing. She used to say the food. So we're really grateful for that. They get healthy meals for sure. But we're just really grateful for the programming. I actually have taken we've been blessed with the weatherization through WSOS/GLCAP. I recently had a stroke in February, and I want to say, like, I'm probably going to get emotional. The advocates were wonderful. The teachers, like, they noticed Mia kind of started behaving different, and they were on it. They called in the counselor to come talk to her, maybe thinking she had a little bit of like PTSD because she was there when it happened. So we're just really grateful for everything the advocates do and for everybody who's involved in allowing that program to continue for our children. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing.
Well,
your
can they
story.
come up?
Oh.
Alex, why don't you introduce yourself while you're
Sure.
they're coming up.
I'm Alex Boroff. I have flowers and a camera.
Everywhere you go.
Do you want us to take your picture?
No, I'm public relations
Or on this side?
director.
Okay.
I just get to hear every kind of good story that comes through the agency. Don't feel bad about tearing up because I think we do that. Don't think we do that a lot to people in a good way. Flowers are on a deadline here.
Were they on the clearance rack, Alex?
Boy, you buy them at 7:30 and they flowers need water. Next time we're gonna bring chocolates.
Oh, there you go, Aria.
Here you go, bud. I'm gonna give you more.
What's that? Is that grown?
Double this.
And then these ones that are never
Yeah,
done
I
that.
learned for today.
You know, I know.
I see that. No, everybody knows this. I'm the one weird one. I didn't know this.
We'll teach you. Just step over
This is
there.
why I come.
Yeah, well, thanks.
What's that?
You may know.
Oh, you didn't know you- okay.
But some green ones will do it.
I know, Audrey. Okay. You're not spending enough time on Facebook. Appreciate that. You're obviously not spending enough time on Facebook.
Count of three. 1, 2,
Pinterest.
3. And one more. Look here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Very nice.
I hear now you said twins.
Yes, he did.
We're gonna get this county straightened out now.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good job, Clayton.
Excellent.
Ready? Yeah, ready? Okay, come on.
Good job.
Introduction to March.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I would just, in closing, like to say, all of you are our best marketing and advertising tools that there could possibly be. So please, as you come across folks, neighbors, friends, family, direct them to our website, direct them to our 800 number. We are always recruiting for participants in the program, so please reach out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Thank you.
Are there any questions for?
Ruth Ann, why don't you give the 800 number, please?
1-800-775-9767 or glcap.org. Are you testing me?
No, absolutely not. I'm glad you didn't do that. Ruth Ann, you will have more in your head than I ever will.
No.
So. I know you know it. Thank you for not doing that to me, Dave.
I still remember it, so come on.
I was gonna call
You
it,
had that.
I couldn't bring it up.
I still got it.
Help me, Shirley.
Yeah, I've been involved with WSOS, GLCAP in one way or the other for the past 15 years probably. And I've got to say that it is the finest community action group that I have ever been involved with, or ever seen. I don't think folks realize, but there are more than 300 and how many employees?
400.
400 employees.
Wow.
You know, and many of them are in Seneca County. So we certainly appreciate their ability when it comes to grants writing, because we couldn't have lived without them on a couple of occasions. They stepped right up for us, and for the most part, for all parts, it's been a great relationship, a true private government partnership.
Yep,
Thank you
absolutely.
all
Thank you for
very
your
much.
support.
So yeah, I would just echo what Mike says and say that there are three things that I think are particularly noteworthy about GLCAP that if you don't know, you should. One is they're one of the three largest community action agencies in the state with a budget exceeding $30 million. But what I find more impressive is the not just the professionalism, but the passion and effectiveness of the entire team, from Ruth Ann on up to the people on the front lines, which is the culture that they have. They do what they do really, really well. And then on top of that, their reach is global. So they have people helping people not only locally, which is the bread and butter, meat and potatoes, but they're impacting the entire state of Ohio, the entire country, and some lesser developed countries throughout the world, and then bringing back other ideas to help us here locally. So it's an absolutely amazing organization, asset, and wonderful people. So
Thank you.
thrilled to have them.
We have a bid opening at 10:15. The folks that are here for WSOS are welcome to stay for that exciting bid opening. But
We're headed to Iowa County now,
I welcome you to leave as well and tell our friends in Ottawa County we said hello.
Okay, here's your hat.
See you next year. Yeah, all right.
Good to see you again.
I didn't know about this.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
You sure prettied up?
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Well, excellent.
We found that.
see, I wore my purple.
Thank you, Mom, for coming in. Take it by the handful.
He will be a good commissioner.
Probably, I think she must be a Democrat. Just keeps changing. Because it's free.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, do we have a sign in? Of course, this is a public bid opening, so everybody in attendance must sign. And we have the bid opening for Seneca County Road 26-592 pavement widening resurfacing project, LPA 1901.
Is this part of the whole structure to try to get us some access to 75? Is that the road that we're using?
Yeah.
We turn 592 into like a super two, are we trying to do that?
592?
Yeah. Doesn't that go across there?
It does, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, because we
That's-
talked about
that's full
widening.
shoulders.
Yeah.
But
What's the road that has to the drive-in there? What's that county road? Is that 592, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's been some meetings with Wood County to open that
Talking
on
about trying to
through.
this connector, yeah.
On through, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the main east-west thoroughfares for people hauling to Poet and.
Yeah, because we originally talked about Tiber Road, or the road that runs out between Tip and Porcelain and that kind of thing up there, but then we switched it up to the other one. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Gives me a chance to look.
Okay.
So we don't have
We're
silence. Yeah. The engineer's estimate for the project is $1,258,670. 1258670.00. My first bid is from Gherkin Paving out of Napoleon, Ohio. Their total bid amount, $1,105,197.60. 1105197.60. My second bid is M&B Asphalt out of Tiffin, Ohio. Total bid amount is $1,171,066.70. 1171066.70.
Send those over to the engineer to review and sign the contract. Thank you to our bidders. All right, we have to stay on timeline for the 10:30?
Yep.
Okay, so administrator report.
Just I guess a couple things. Cemetery Lane is started. They brought in the equipment yesterday, so they're starting on it today. Even with the rain, I think they were still out there. Met with John this morning, so they're hoping it's only going to take about a week.
Okay.
So.
That's perfect timing, Memorial Day, starting the lane to the cemetery.
Yep.
It's like kind of poetic.
I also have I think I sent it to you guys this morning, so I just wanted to bring it up briefly. I'd met with DLZ to discuss some work at the CSB building. We have had for quite a long time problems with that wall towards Perry Street, and we had talked about some ADA accessibility upgrades and maybe changing up that entrance so it looks like an entrance on that side. So I met with DLZ. They just happened to come up one day, and I asked them if they'd be interested in looking at it for us. So he sent me a quote, and to do their scope of work would kind of be develop concept for the new entry at the health department, evaluate the facilities, exterior compliance with ADA and accessibility, parking, the routes, the public right-of-way, also talking about the stucco veneer, he's calling it, that needs replaced or fixed. So that's the broad scope of what we had asked them to do. Their total cost is $24,500 for the engineering. So I just got this back, so I just wanted to bring it up for your thoughts. I don't know, I know you talked to Gossman quickly. With Gossman doing a broad review of the county and different buildings to get a little bit more specified for that building and to keep it moving on track. That's why I asked DLZ to kind of give us a price. Wasn't sure how much of a hurry this project might be. I wanted to make sure I kept it on top since it was in our capital improvement discussions at the end of last year, so.
So what is the timing of the gospel report? When do we expect any conversation, any results by it?
I chatted with him just for a minute this morning because I wanted to make sure that this was outside of his scope of work. And he said he's gonna be in town on Tuesday, and they are still compiling the drawings, but they're making progress. It's taking a little longer because basically we were disorganized. I mean,
Our plans are just not complete.
So we're 30, 60, 90 days out?
Probably 90.
Okay.
90.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know Beth has approached us about having to do compliance with their ADA and
Yes.
going through their certification process, so I know that's important to them.
Yeah, DLZ is gonna work with Beth on a more extensive ADA assessment of that building for their recertification, or is that what it's called? The health department, I can't remember that word they're doing.
Yeah.
Accreditation. Yeah,
Accreditation.
accreditation
Yeah.
that they need to do, so they have to have that done, and they're gonna pay for that, so they're gonna work with DLZ to get that done. But this would help out with the front, or, well, what I consider their front.
Sure.
for the health department.
Yeah, I talked to John Hess about that wall, and that wall is actually antebellum. It was there before the building. It was part of the old theater, separating, and then they built the building around it. And then at some point, we stuccoed it, and if you look at it now, there's big bubbles in it, and the plaster's falling off. We actually have one spot that's already exposed.
So from what I remember, we had Schwably's on the corner and LaSalle's next to it. There was a theater before the,
Before one of those.
before the hardware store?
Yeah.
Huh.
And in the 1800s.
I don't go back that far.
Close.
Let's talk about the dump.
Next on the agenda.
Zing, zing, zing. Score's 1-1 right now.
In case you're keeping track.
All right, well, I mean, I guess we can take a look at that bid and, take action on it in the near future. Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I didn't think it sounded too bad for, I wanted to, guess look a little closer at what that scope all entailed and timeframes and stuff.
It's painful to spend that money, but I don't know how
It
we
is.
do it and correctly if we don't spend the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, you're right.
The only other thing I want to check on is our board schedule for June 7th. I'm not sure I have
Yeah.
a board.
I think we're gonna need to cancel that meeting. We're pretty thin. We'll get some conflicts.
Yeah, there's a few things we had on the schedule. We'll have to get rescheduled.
June.
If we need to have
And the
two-
6th?
Six.
6th is the 7th, is the Friday, okay.
Oh, did I say? I thought it
If
was.
we need to have two the next week, I'm willing to do that. If it's,
It's beginning of the month. I don't think we need
So
to.
let's cancel the 6th and see what else we can, if you have any trouble rescheduling somebody, we can work on that.
Other than that, that's all I have.
All right, commissioner reports. Mr. Kirschner?
Well, at this time of the year, we have a graduation of a lot of folks from a lot of different areas, from preschool to high school to college on our minds. I had the opportunity to speak with Eagle Scholarship, and it amazes me again, we talk about the volunteerism and the amount of people involved in our communities. These are 4 kids who got $3,000 scholarships or that are available over a 4-year period of time. What a great group of graduating seniors we have. This was kind of a pick of those. And again, this is just a small example of what's available in the community to these kids graduating from high school. This is 4 scholarships. If you go to Calvert or Columbia, you will hear about a lot of private families, companies who have donated anywhere from $1,000 a year to $5,000 a year for a lot of kids. So isn't it great to know? I mean, it's wonderful when somebody makes an announcement, I'm gonna pay everybody's tuition, right? If you got all that money. But isn't it even more wonderful when people, as a group, come together to try to aid these kids? That's the first thing that came to mind. I wanted to congratulate all the graduates. We're at that time of year. The lighting for the courthouse, I know I kind of try to keep you up to date. I did have a conversation with Pinnacle and Josh Johnston. We are meeting early in June. We have put together, with the help of Audrey Flood from TSUP, an application for the National Machinery Foundation and a couple of foundations under Tiffin Charitable. Hopefully we can raise some significant money so that maybe we can get the courthouse square and beyond lit up for Christmas. I mean, those are really the highlights from this week, I guess.
We had the fiber switch flipping, if I got that right, Jim?
Yeah.
Yesterday, and we just, appreciate those who came out, a nice turnout of folks, and we all got dusted off with a nice shower right before we started. But we also received this nice proclamation from the governor and presented by the Lieutenant Governor's office for this collaborative project, and it truly is, and it's just phenomenal to know that one more step of things of the 2 cities and the county and private companies locally here making this project happen, thanks to our partners with Buckeye IT and Bascom Communications. But again, just emphasize that in case you saw something in social media and you weren't able to be there, that's what that was all about.
And I want to shout out to Klaus Electric for giving us
Oh,
the faux flip switch that made it something different than a ribbon cutting.
That's
so
right.
They donated that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Wolf Creek, we had an update meeting with Soil Conservation Service and Mark Zimmerman, the county engineer. Just kind of talk about where we're at. We're kind of in the finalization of the construction assessments with Wolf Creek. So that's in the works. Nothing official to formally announce yet, other than that's a stage and that's on schedule in terms of when that has to be done and all of the documentation turned into the auditor, so as it makes its way to the tax bill for those who are going to be assessed for the work there. It is going to be over 5 years, which is what the original established guidelines were for the project. We talked about the maintenance schedule a little bit, how it will be a little bit of rotational and how that works because of the unique size of this project being 11 miles. So first year they do the full 11, second year they do from State Route 18 to County Road 38, third year County Road 38 to State Route 12, fourth year State Route 12 to the county line. And then potentially contract otherwise for tree removal every 3 years or so. So that's kind of what they're projecting as they're looking at overall their responsibilities that soil conservation has of maintaining things, what that assessment does cover for those maintenance and why that's going to be on there, and for paying for the construction cost of what we've gotten done for the project. So more to come on those exact when that gets finalized and so forth. But anyway, it's moving to make its way to the tax bills as it has to.
I do think the commissioners were talking about this in the 1800s as well.
I know we were talking about it when I was a commissioner.
They were talking about it when Dale was a commissioner.
1800s, wasn't it?
Just saying. That's it.
Okay. Was able to sit in on a really good meeting with the Sisters of St. Francis and the Active Transportation Committee. Charlene organized this for us, and we have a lot of cooperation with the sisters in putting together the proposed trail that'll go from St. Francis Avenue out to 151 through the county farm. So we're in the process of working with the parks and all related parties to see what can happen there. Still in the discussion stage, but it's very positive. On September 17th, we're going to have, if I get this wrong, Vicki, Seneca County's Ohio Certified Volunteer Naturalist Program is going to hike the county farm, and we're going to look at that potential trail at that time as well. So a lot of good things happening on that front. Yeah, that's all I had. So do we want to do the public hearing for?
Oh, that's
Title 20 public hearing, do we have a sign-in for that?
We do. I do. Where do you want me to start it? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Ready to go?
Thanks for the bid, Tim.
Anybody else want to leave? I've never had such a
Good timing, guys.
Thank you.
big crowd for this.
For Title 20.
Yeah, for Title 20. Hear about Title 20. I do have a few or just one handout, but I didn't make enough copies for everybody, so, start with these.
We can share.
I'll give you a few here,
Yes.
and then I'll pass the rest if you want. So I'm Beth Anway, and I am from Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services. And every 2 years, we are required to report on our Title 20 funding that we receive. So we receive Title 20 funding, which is part of the Social Security Act, and it's also called the Social Service Block Grant. And we receive a fair amount of money for that, and we're required to report out, like I said, biannually, what we plan to spend that money for the next 2 years. So this little handout basically just tells what our agency is intending to spend this money for, and then we take any questions or concerns regarding that money and how we use our funding for that. So for 2020 and 2021, basically what we use this money for is for our Children's Services, Protective Services Division to provide services to the community. So the main part of this money is used for case management, prevention and intervention, and protective services for children. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what that means. So our social services unit, Protective Services, provides services for, just what it says, protecting children and adults. Mainly children. We do have an adult protective unit, but mainly we do children's services. And as I'm sure most of you know, a lot of what we do is we protect children who are abused, neglected, or dependent, and we provide services to them mainly to try to keep kids out of foster care or out of any type of placement, but also in those cases where we need to put children into the care of a foster home or a residential treatment facility, we also do that. So, like I said, a lot of what we do is case management. So when we get complaints in, we do the services and activities we need to arrange, coordinate, and monitor services for the needs of the families and the individuals. And mainly the children. If you look down through here, though, I would just kind of list the services that we intend to provide with the Title 20 money. So we do adoption services, obviously when we have the happy endings of adopting kids out to families. Case management, which I talked about. Day treatment for children is mainly for children who need intensive care for day treatment more than 5 hours a day when they have more intensive needs. Foster care services, like I said, for those children or families who need their children put into foster care for any period of time. Independent and transitional services. So our older youth who are in the system or that we find to be homeless, independent living prepares those children for the future and so that they can be independent adults. Prevention, someone's getting it. Prevention and intervention. When we intervene to support families and children to prevent consequences of abuse, neglect, or domestic violence. The protective services for adults that I talked about, we also do adult protective services for those over 60 who may be abused, neglected, exploited. The protective services for children, which is what the main part of this Title 20 money is spent on. We try to prevent or give services to prevent the abuse, neglect, or exploitation of children. And then in very severe situations, residential treatment services are for those kids who whose behaviors are too severe to be put in a normal foster care setting. So the total number we serve annually is approximately 2,690 children, families. And the total Title 20 money we expend annually is about $730,000. And we expect to expend that money over each year for the next 2 years. And that's really all I have on Title 20 money. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Beth, who determines who needs this kind of care? How is it determined, and then who is the final judge as to who gets the specific services?
Well, it depends, but mainly when we get calls, we get lots of calls every year, obviously. We take that information in, and then we have a team, who's our children's services administrator, a supervisor, and some workers, who meet on basically every case to decide whether to screen it in or screen it out. Basically, whether it's, whether there's any type of.
So these cases aren't necessarily through the court system, they could be.
They can be,
They can be outside of the court system.
Correct, correct, yeah. It's any type of a complaint that we receive, and we investigate that and screen it in or screen it out and determine, yeah, who needs the services. But usually it's a team. I would say our children's services team is meeting pretty much every day to determine, you know, who needs what services. And also the courts, obviously, once it gets further down the line.
Sure.
Is there any other requirement for us on the public hearing? Do we need, did you
The
need to make
signature sheet, and then, no, I just do a little.
It's an opportunity for you to share information.
Correct.
In public forum.
Yep, any public comment or questions, and,
Okay.
yep.
So are there any questions or comments about this program? I'm sure you'd be willing, or your staff would be willing to answer that online, and we certainly
Absolutely.
appreciate the work that our people do out there. It's amazing.
Thank you. And.
All right. Old business.
Okay, I have an EMS update. Ready for that one?
I am.
We had known from, how many years ago, Ken? Since 14?
Yeah.
And 13 or so, anyway. Long-range plan of what the direction was for Seneca County EMS, what was happening in that time. The very short of the long story is that we've got several joint ambulance districts formed, et cetera. And we knew, again, the sustainability of this program depended on the ability of the volunteers in the system. The county provides equipment, supplies, and training. And the local jurisdictions are the ones who've been making it work with the personnel on a volunteer basis. And with the joint ambulance districts formation, there's been a compensated volunteer system put into place for those areas that have that as their service method for EMS services. So getting to the point again, back into a situation of enough volunteers to keep all the ambulances in service and so forth. So specifically, and Jim is here, Jim Claus with Bascom had called up and asked, where are the commissioners with this? We know our ambulance district is going to have to look at something different in the very near future because of the weighing on the system, because of simply having enough volunteers to keep going. Plus their district fills in enough, quite a few times. I'm not going to put a percentage on, I'll let these guys do that, for other districts that are out of service. And that not sure that they could continue to do that, which obviously then continues to weaken that ability, especially those areas that were not being covered on their own. We also had other townships ask about, is there anything we can do on a countywide basis?
And will you look at that? And this was all like within about a 7-day period of time, one call and then the other. So we did have some meetings. Jim called some meetings, asked some township representatives to come to that and us as well. One of the first things that group come to a conclusion of was, should we talk to the cities and see if the cities are interested at all in being part of doing something with EMS services, and is that a solution? When we look to what other counties do, there are a couple, Athens being one and Sandusky County being another. One close, one not so close, but they have different funding scenarios with the ability that they used a sales tax to put on to fund their systems, or whatever it might have amounted to, different situations. They don't have the cities with medical services under union labor operations, et cetera. So we looked at those things. We did talk to those cities, and that's kind of where we got to the point. I thought I'd come and make sure I shared the full update with you two and everyone else, is just where we're at this point, because I think it's back to letting the townships and those responsible for the personnel end of it to figure out what they need to do so they can move forward. But we did explore with both cities, is there interest in anything on a county-wide levy situation? Because we have that ability to put something out there, but it has to be through the legal checking on all of this, has to be countywide. And both of the cities, for various reasons, that said we don't see that working because they have the union in place with their operations, and it's fire and medical together, and that is a key part for them, and understandably so. So they can't separate that out. And the question of why would we ask the citizens of our municipality to support a tax when they already get those services and they don't pay a separate tax for them? Fair assessment. Fostoria specifically, they've got the emergency levy on. I'm not gonna quote the numbers on that, but that's gonna be, they're gonna have a renewal up. I think it's of that one. I'm not sure which one, but they said we can't go forward with asking for anything else of our citizens as well. So that kind of puts the kibosh on thinking that a countywide would be successful. So I just wanted, at this point, I told Jim, that's where we got, that's after the last meeting, that was the homework we had to come back with, and I'd make sure I shared that and got that out there so everybody knows, because we just had those finished up last week, but where we're at this point. So that is where we're at. I don't know what Jim wants to pipe in and add, but.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that at this point?
Yeah, obviously, we've talked about this for a long time, right? And we continue to have conversations, and I understand that a countywide system will be very difficult, but it begs the question, Clinton Township, for example, is part of the city of Tiffin, right? Somehow they worked that out.
Right.
Somewhere,
They have a
yeah,
contract.
somewhere along the way. I mean, is it possible, and I'm just asking possibilities here, nothing else. Is it possible that a similar arrangement could be made with other townships in the city?
Some of them have explored that, and the city had gotten back with some of them and thought they were gonna be able to make something work, and then most recently got back with them and said, we can't do it.
Okay,
And
so.
for whatever reasons, I don't know, but.
And tell me, how my thinking is wrong here, but I thought that we talked about, ultimately, if possible, to have a countywide system that would just be the townships. I mean, we talked about the first step would be to do ambulance districts, right? And then hopefully those districts might merge. And then theoretically, we have a countywide system without the cities. I mean, you're absolutely right. Why would I, as a citizen of the city of Tiffin, how many voted, 17,000 people or 20,000 people plus 5 or 6 in Seneca County and Fostoria, why would they vote for it?
Yeah.
There's no incentive.
So that is where they're at. So I'm just saying true countywide, meaning levy that's crossed across. But yes, the joint ambulance district have the ability to combine, reorganize, do what they want, and they can, basically, they don't have to be adjacent. They can say, well, we can go around the city boundaries because, they've already got their services. They can do that. We can't do that.
Right, but we're kind of, as a county, trying to set that structure up by virtue of the ECHO program, and by virtue of consolidating or making districts. There is no case in which there's been more than 2 districts that combined, has there?
I was gonna have the EMS director for Coshocton County come here on June 6th and explain to you how they did it.
Okay.
And a contingent of the Ohio EMS Chiefs Association that represents 44 counties in there, 44 different EMS agencies across all 88 counties.
Right.
That would come here and explain to you how several people had done it, and
But by virtue of our strategic plan, our ultimate
by what we're
goal
doing,
has been
we're
to
on
try-
the path.
Yeah, I mean, that's the path that we're going down. And-
But I think we gotta keep in mind, there's a couple of things, and I don't wanna soapbox, but there's a couple of things that are important to remember is, with the agreement that we have in place, we put the burden of personnel onto the townships. By utilizing joint ambulance districts, we put that responsibility on them, and the joint ambulance district uses the levy money that they put on over a larger geographic area, so they don't tax the taxpayer to death, essentially. And if the joint ambulance districts choose to join together, they can do that, or they can contract with one another. There's a lot of different things they can do, and I think the prosecutor could probably lead that discussion a little better than I can. However, it is entirely up to them to do that, not this board and not the city's council, and that's where we're at.
In your opinion,
Yes, sir.
if more districts combined, would there be more efficiencies?
Yes,
Okay. Would there, if the more districts combined, would there be a need to have more than one echo unit?
no,
Okay. And your sense with the townships and the joint ambulance districts is that they might be open to this discussion, or that it will be an uphill battle?
some of them are, and they have, and those conversations are ongoing.
If you were king, how would it look?
If I were king, I would have 4 squad model, 2 on the west side, 2 on the east side, and 2 echoes, 1 on each side. And we're talking $3.2 million budget.
And that's full-time personnel.
That would be full-time personnel, 24 paramedics, 24 EMTs, 2 supervisors, and office. We'd have to increase the office.
Does that model exist in other counties?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And.
One is close to Springville.
I mean, I know $3.2 million is a scary number, right?
It is.
But do we not now have some townships that have got levies on that raise some money?
We do. And what we're doing is we're taking baby steps into an area that we've never visited before. And a lot of these areas, I'll give you one prime example. New Riggle, Big Spring, Seneca, that's New Riggle squad area. They have absolutely no need to do this. They've got plenty of volunteers, they have a very strong community, a very strong sense of this is our community and we're gonna do it. Whereas they run 150 runs a year.
Right.
It's not bad. Then you have Bascom Joint Ambulance District that Jim here represents. They're running 600 runs a year, but they're running in a community that is Hopewell, Loudon, and most of Jackson and Liberty townships, because Jackson and Liberty and Bettsville has been out of service a great deal. I'm not gonna give you a percentage because a lot of folks tend to think that I exaggerate those numbers. I just have the numbers, you do the percentages. And with that, they're overwhelmed. So it's important for them to start considering a full-time, part-time, part-paid option. The way the city of Tiffin used to do it, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. When I first started in the city of Tiffin in 1995, we were all part-time employees, EMS only. And then not until '98 did we merge into do fire and EMS. And there were some very strong incentives tax-wise in the way that you can tax people, why we did that. And Chief Ennis and the leadership of the city saw that as an opportunity and did that at that time. In a very rural environment where we are, I think it's better to move slowly and to allow the joint ambulance district leadership, which is the township leadership, to move in the speed and the direction that they choose based on the need that they have. So in Bascom, obviously, there is a need. New Riggle, not so much. AVR, Attica, Venice, and Reed, it may be time here in the next year or two to start looking at something like that. We've had those discussions. Bloom and Scipio, there's a possibility that AVR and Bloom and Scipio may join together sometime in the future. So all those things may happen. We could end up with a joint ambulance district on the east side, a joint ambulance district on the west side, or one big joint ambulance district like Crawford County has. But those are not without issue as well. Sometimes you get so big you have 15 township elected officials in the room, you can't figure out which one to have for lunch, let alone what you're gonna do for a
Stuff
decision.
number three.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be, rude. I'm just saying, sometimes the bigger, the clunkier the machine, the harder it is to operate.
Yeah.
So, keeping it simple and keeping it in the community, we are a community-based EMS system, and I think that that's our strength. Finding out how to finance it,
Well, I mean,
That's a big
Kate,
deal.
you talked about some of the districts being pretty strong with volunteers.
Absolutely.
But history has shown us that has a tendency to deteriorate, right?
absolutely.
I mean.
Ebb and flow, at least.
Yeah, at least it ebb and flow, but for the most part, every time the flow comes back, it comes back at a lower level than it did when it left.
The demands on these folks are huge,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and we have to say that this is probably, if it isn't the number one, it's almost the number one priority that at least I feel we have responsibility for, to make sure people feel like when they need somebody, they'll be there, and to make sure the health and welfare of the people in the community, right? So we need to keep this at the top of the burner here so that we continue to discuss it. And I know that, again, over these last 5 years, the ultimate goal has been, from you and with our support, to try to consolidate as many of the ambulance districts as possible, and to look at the possibility of a county-wide, or at least east and west side services as time goes on. And I think that's where the efficiencies are.
Yeah.
So we just need to keep working towards that goal, I believe.
I don't disagree, and believe me, I live and breathe EMS, that's what I do. So, I'm out there every day. Last night I was at a meeting, just about every day, I'm somewhere talking to somebody about how to do this better. And with that being said, we also have to take into consideration what the township officials want to do, how they want to do it, and the speed in which they want to travel. Some of them are holding out, thinking, the county will do something. No matter how many times I tell them they're not going to, they think that. So I think what we need to do is encourage them to do what we're asking them to do, which is to consider moving to a part paid, at least full-time if possible, structure within their joint ambulance district. And the question then becomes again, how do we finance that?
Bascom's, you're gonna be housed at the new firehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Do you have any thoughts on progress on the EMS? Anything you want to add to this conversation?
Right now, my main question is, if we do go to a paid system or part paid system, will the county still provide what they are providing now? You know, the ambulance, the gas, the medicine? If we're a paid system.
I don't see any deterioration in our commitment to that.
No.
So I mean.
No one has ever contemplated reducing anything that we do.
Yeah, I mean, this board has increased the ECHO staff to 24 hours. We've continued to look at opportunities to secure the facility and invest there. So we don't have any interest at this board at this time exiting the commitments we've made.
A couple of years ago, how much was the ECHO increase?
We changed from a part-time, from 8A to 8P to a 24-hour
I
operation.
just don't remember that number, but it was a significant number.
It was. We put on 3 full-time people.
And this is the last year. We usually do a resolution dedicating 3 years to that formula, and this would be the year we negotiate for 20, 21, and 22. So we'll be having those discussions this year. And
So I think you got your answer there. We're not gonna back off anything that we do, that's for sure.
Well, I think our thought is that as long as we're still getting your support to go ahead with either try a full-time paid system, part-time paid system, we're gonna look at what we can make work to improve or to keep our ambulance district going.
We appreciate everything that's done over there. We really do.
And I certainly want to thank Jim for the efforts, because he was wanting to know that. That was, when he first called me. And then I told him there was other, a few days later, there was another call. And I got back with him and shared that. And he goes, well, I'm going to bring it up, excuse me, at the township quarterly meeting, which he did. And so he, kind of put their progress a little bit on hold, say, well, let's step back. Let's make sure, I want to give everybody an opportunity if there's such a chance. And we went through the process of scheduling meetings with various township representatives. They all were invited to be part of that if they wanted to be, and some that are not part of a joint ambulance district now that are private contracted were part of those discussions. And I just appreciate, because I know we probably put them, the brakes on a little bit for their progress, but we wanted to, he thought that was worth it, and the others, I'm sure as well, appreciated the time put in, his efforts, because he was the communications with everybody for those meetings, so.
Yeah, I think the attitude is there are some things we can do without. Supporting EMS folks is not one of those.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
You bet.
Holly, you wanna?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're still under old business, but we do have a proclamation that I think we'd like to present to Ken. So I guess I will read this, why not, right?
Yeah.
This is the proclamation whereas the emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important on-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Resolved, this Board of Seneca County Commissioner hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2019, National EMS Week, and signed by the 3 commissioners. So Ken? Ooh, it comes here.
I think he wants our picture.
I think he does.
Hey, make it look-
And I think blue is the
Hey, there you go.
Orange. Orange.
Orange is.
Yeah, it's actually
Orange. We have an orange one.
I thought it was blue. I was.
Well, yeah, have both. They're pretty, they're
Blue's the
pretty,
cops.
they're pretty together.
Yeah.
The man with golf.
Yeah.
Boise.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, well, in 1974, President Ford commemorated the very first EMS week, and we've been doing it now for 45 years. And we really appreciate your support and the support of the townships that do this, because just to put it into a little bit of scale for you, we do have 6 ambulances out there all the time. They're in service with 2 people, 8,760 hours a year each. So that's every hour of every day. Every now and then we have one that just doesn't have the people, but we have other ones in other areas that cover that. And Bascom does an amazing job. So
It's hard to take you seriously with flowers in your hand.
it is.
Better than in his hair.
It's like a microphone. I'm a performer, like a dancing chicken. So, but that's the volunteers. If you see one out there, or if you see somebody who's wearing a T-shirt, just tell them thanks. I thank Joe Frankert right there. This guy is a lot of our daytime help over there. We have a lot of people who are retired and veterans, for Memorial Day action working here, that help us out daily. And if we didn't have them, I'd be here more often with a lot worse message. So 240 million 911 calls a year in this country, 1 million of them are in the state of Ohio every year. So we don't answer all of those, but we answer our share. And we appreciate your support in allowing us to do that, because it is an honor to serve the patient, and we really appreciate that. You provide us that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, EMS, we good? All right, new business.
New business. Okay, I have a couple supplemental appropriations. This was brought up at our board meeting last week for the security of public safety. So I need to do a supplemental appropriation into our transfers outline for $35,000. And then I have the I'll go ahead and read the transfer, because that'll be the order of the process. The transfer will be the $35,000 from our general fund to the capital improvement fund, and then I will need a supplemental appropriation in our public safety line in our capital improvement fund for $25,000, because we had already set aside 10 initially for that project. So those are the financials that I have. Also have a resolution authorizing the contract service agreement with Pivot Point Partners LLC on behalf of the Seneca County Auditor's Office. And I have a resolution reappointing Heidi Steffi to the Allen Irie Advisory Committee as the designee for Seneca County Board of Commissioners. 5-year term shall expire June 17th of 2024. And those are all the resolutions I have.
On the capital improvement fund, will the proceeds from the sale of the Carnegie go into that line, or do we have to take special action to make that happen?
Derek's checking on that. We initially had said it would probably go into the general fund because that's usually where they go. Julie had mentioned maybe we put it directly into the special projects or the capital improvement fund. We could do it either way, but Derek's checking to make sure that that's, if that's what you would like to do, that would, obviously that money would go towards any of our other projects. But we initially said it would go into the general fund and then we could transfer it over, but Derek's checking to see if we could just put it into the capital improvement fund.
Yeah. Sounds like a down payment on a roof for Job and Family.
I got a couple ideas.
I will accept a motion on this.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. Okay, we will move into public comment. I just want to make mention that Jeremy Spears here. If you'd like to introduce yourself, he's the new publisher for the Advertiser Tribune, and so we always appreciate the coverage that we get and the community service that you provide, so welcome to the community.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me. It's been a wonderful community here, my second week, and I look forward to serving the community through the paper and having our staff be very active here throughout Seneca County. So look forward to meeting you all individually as I go, but I'm really happy to be here. So any questions anybody has at any time, feel free to give me a call at the paper or email me at jspear@advertiser-tribune.com.
Welcome to Tiffin, Seneca County. Vicky's the best one since Jimmy.
Thank you. She does a great job.
I've been the top two of the last two.
Yeah. She does a wonderful job, you can quote me.
I'll look forward to tomorrow's paper.
All right, other public comments? Yes.
So, Charlene from Regional Planning, we would like to remind everybody that May 29th at 7 p.m. in Bloomville will be a public meeting / public hearing for the CDBG grant for neighborhood revitalization for the village of Bloomville. This is for their community to come in and give public comments. The elected officials are invited, all general public's invited, and we'll be giving a presentation on what the village would like to do and what the outcomes of their surveys have been. This is in preparation to apply for a $750,000 grant for the village.
What was that, what day?
May 29th, 7 p.m. at the Village Hall, the Community Center, 10 Beagley Avenue, Bloomville, Ohio.
You'll find it.
I've been there. Across from the ice cream place. That's
Ah, there you go.
Big
Big go. Big go.
Now we have a landmark.
Other public comments? Mr. Zach.
So our development manager for rural development entrepreneurship and other assorted items, Audrey Flood, has started full-time on May the 21st this week. Woo-woo! So she is here today with bells on, and Nick is leaving to have his second child. So we timed it, I guess we timed it right, but Audrey's thrilled to be here. I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I already know a lot of you, but if we haven't met yet, I'm really trying to get to know and meet everyone, so please find me, and I'll hopefully be finding you. And I'm just excited to be finally graduated and getting to work. So look forward to everything.
Speaking of graduations, congratulations on receiving your master's.
Congratulations,
And
go
welcome
Bucks.
back home.
So we will look to do a team update when Nick gets back, if that's okay, from his child. So he's probably gonna be out tomorrow. So we're timing it right. But we keep giving you updates. But as an entire team, we should be able to be here before I go on vacation and when Nick gets back. So
Audrey had 2 jobs from the commissioner before she even was hired. That's good.
It's a lot to do. But we're excited, and she's here.
Other public comments? Yes.
Logan Wolf from Fostoria. Just want to bring a couple things to the attention of the commissioners. Recently, there was a press release from the Seneca County Health Department regarding surface water and sediment testing that was done on Sunny Farms landfill property. They were saying that, well, and also wells around the area, they were saying that most of those have come back to drinking water standards, and they said that there are no standards for sediment samples, so they couldn't really comment on that, but they said that there was elevated arsenic detected in a couple wells, and they said that may be an indication of naturally occurring rocks leading to that, but we don't really know for sure. We know that some of the materials coming in do contain arsenic, lead, and other metals that's naturally, well, I don't know if you can call it naturally, but it's in construction and demolition debris, and was also tested to be found in some of the contaminated soils that we're shipping in. But regardless, the health department has said that they are thinking about discontinuing the process of testing local wells due to a lack of funding from the Solid Waste Management District. They said that about $5,000 per year are appropriated toward that, and that's not covering the costs. And since they're not finding any remarkable results, they're thinking of discontinuing that process. So some of us were wondering if that's something that the board of directors could press for, or if that's something that the planning committee has to do, or if that's something that the health department needs to submit in writing and request for. I don't really know. And additionally, hydrogen sulfide odors on Sunny Farms do seem to be under control, but the additional issue that's raised with that is with the gas collection system and the additional flare running, all of that hydrogen sulfide is running toward the flares, which gets burned off and releases sulfur dioxide. And the gas sampling reports were released just recently, and they indicated that a calculated amount of about 170 tons of sulfur dioxide were emitted from the flares in the month of April, whereas last April it was under 40 tons. So that gas has to be going somewhere. Sulfur dioxide is known to cause health problems, pretty much the same, if not worse, than hydrogen sulfide, and at lower concentrations. The EPA standard is 75 parts per billion per hour. I don't know if that monthly emission meets those standards, or if that's being measured on an hourly basis in order to determine that. That would be something for the Ohio EPA, but those are some concerns regarding those developments.
Let me go back. First of all, I think that the funding for the well testings is not only from OSS, but it's also from the money that's generated to the health department from Sunny Farms for other issues.
I need to run that down, because that's, I think it comes out of the CD&D funds. But,
Okay. There was also a notice issued by the health department for some homes were found to have highly elevated radon. They didn't really explain where that was coming from. They just said that it's something that people need to be aware of and look into.
Well, first of all, I appreciate how well informed you have made yourself of these issues, because it's impressive.
Thank you.
Secondly, what is your sense about all the action that Sunny Farms have taken so far as to curing the situation? I mean, do you feel more comfortable today than you did 6 months ago? Do you feel less comfortable? Where are you at?
I remain skeptical. They have implemented measures to control hydrogen sulfide odors, but they could have done this many years ago.
Okay, I'll give you that, but the fact is they have now. So
yes, they were ordered by the EPA to do so. It got to a point where they were forced to.
Sometimes it takes a heavy hand, I get that. But, I mean, the fact, do you think that facility is safer and less intrusive on the community now than it was 6 months ago?
If they're still bringing in potentially dangerous material, then there's no way to know. If it's industrial waste, residual waste, specialty waste that's coming in thousands and thousands, up to 7,500 tons a day that they can bring in, and it's in rail cars that aren't properly lined or protected, and rain gets into it, it leaks out, goes into the environment, that's a concern that people have. Construction and demolition debris is even dangerous itself. Like you hear about the health problems that first responders and cleanup crews had at the World Trade Center attacks, cleaning up the construction and demolition debris, all the lung problems, lung issues. And yeah, workers have been known to have been cleaning that stuff out of train cars without proper safety equipment. There's...
Let me phrase it one last way, and then I'll leave you alone.
Okay.
If the situation were as it is right now with Sunny Farms, as far as the odors and as far as the water results, do you think there would have been this much protest if we just start from square one today?
If there weren't odors for people to notice, people probably wouldn't have came to the attention of any of the other issues that we've begun to notice.
That's fair. Okay. Thanks.
Cool.
Yes. I would like to respond, as I'm sure you thought I would. Ben Nutter, Director of Community Relations for Sunny Farms Landfill. I would just like to point out a couple items. One, we are a fully lined, and when we're done, capped facility. So things that are harmful for the environment, the best place for them are in our landfill. We are licensed to take solid waste and construction demolition debris. We do not accept anything hazardous, toxic, or infectious. Those three things we do not. We were asked by Loudoun Township and the health department to conduct additional testing over and above what we typically do. We're one of the most highly regulated industries in the world, as you're aware. We conducted those additional tests. The tests were found that we have not polluted surface water, we have not polluted groundwater, and we have not polluted soils. We did not do a very good job in the past of having our gas collection system installed and up and running. We remedied that issue. Our CEO stood up and apologized and was willing to put all the resources necessary into that system to make sure that we weren't doing that anymore. We have fixed that issue. We have a new type of system that will allow us to, collect gas as we go. We're not going backwards. So we've done everything we said we would do. We stood up. We took responsibility for our not so good performance. But what we won't take responsibility for is the allegations that we're polluting water, we are polluting soil, we're polluting groundwater or surface water. Because that is simply, flatly, and plainly untrue. And we have the results to prove it. So we can do more testing. I can give you more data. I can give you more test results. But I want to be very clear to everyone that we're not polluting anything. So, questions for me?
I have one. The train cars that come in, the train cars aren't yours.
Well, some of them
they're
are
the
ours. I mean, we
Ones
do
that's-
own some rail cars.
Okay, but the ones that are coming in for the most part that they're talking about, the concerns of the condition of those cars.
Yeah, a lot of those aren't ours.
I'm
Ours
just
are
gonna
fairly
say,
new,
I don't,
actually.
yeah, obviously, you're not the transportation
Right.
arm of that, what's getting it to you.
Correct. That is
I
correct.
just wanted to verify that.
Are you aware, are there flare testing requirements in your permit?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a smart guy question as far as what they are, but I am aware that there are testing. And we not only test for hydrogen sulfide, we test for sulfur dioxide and those things as well. So, we monitor those things. And that's a very good point that Logan brought up. When you burn hydrogen sulfide, you do create sulfur dioxide. The goal, our very expensive hydrogen sulfide treatment system, the goal is to pull all of the hydrogen sulfide out of those gases before they're flared off. And the further goal is to not even flare them off, is to clean those gases up and make them useful. So that is plan, B, C, D, we've had our hands full trying to make sure, that we were becoming a good neighbor again. And and I'm happy to report, you go out in that area, I go there almost every day, you go to have a barbecue, you're not, other than a big green hill, that's the only thing that you'll know about Sunny Farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? We do have a proclamation for Community Action Month, which we will make sure we get to our friends that were here and have now gone.
GLCAP.
GLCAP. Anything else? All right, we are adjourned.